Welcome back to another exciting episode of 60 Plus Uncensored. Today's guest is someone who has combined a career in medicine, a love for the land, and a vision for how we can reimagine aging in community. Dr. Ann Lindsay is the board president of Life Plan Humboldt, a new nonprofit lifestyle community being developed in McKinleyville, California for adults 62 and better. The project is grassroots in the truest sense. It's being developed not only as a place to live, but as a way to connect people, architecture, and the land itself. Dr. Lindsay, thank you for being on the show today. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm currently, actually, since I retired from medical care, I've been working almost full time with a lot of community members here in Humboldt County, California, to create a senior life plan community. But the idea for that started in 1973 when I visited a Kendall community in Pennsylvania. And it was a beautiful day, and there was a string quartet playing and a poetry reading happening. And I go, this is like college, but no tests. It was the seniors were really having, quite a engaged life. And I was looking forward to that. So I started working with a number of people here locally in 2019, and 2020 we formed a nonprofit, and we've been rolling ever since. And the interesting thing is we started by doing human-centered design, which is basically we interviewed 14 older adults who live here about aging, and we talked for them for a couple of hours. And we were thinking they would tell us, what kind of community they might want to move into. But what we found out that only one out of the 14 had any kind of plan other than they wanted to live in the house as long as they could and die quickly. And that's because there isn't any, I call that the
That's the
Niagara
big
Falls,
vision.
Niagara Falls approach, right? But the matter is, the point of it is that there wasn't any kind of life plan community or continuing care retirement community for 200 miles. So we have assisted living here, and but people generally been go to that when they can't stay home, and there's nothing intentional senior community for people who are independent and to get together and age together.
Right on. But you're a doctor. So, like between Pennsylvania 1973 and McKinleyville, California today, there were a few intervening decades. So, you were a doctor. Are you still a doctor? What kind of doctor were you? Are you?
Yeah, my husband and I had a family practice for 28 years in Arcata, California, and which we got to know a lot of people in the community well. And for the last 18 years of that, I served as public health officer in the county. And it was, that really was, I loved the job because it was the blend of science and community organizing, basically, because the whole job in public health and the health officer is to promote community-wide wellness. And through that, I made a lot of connections in the community. And so when it came time to organize for senior community here for Life Plan Humboldt, just tapped into a lot of those people that I'd gotten to know over the years. So, for
So,
example, yeah, go ahead.
well, go on. No, you go on, please.
Well, we had on our initial board of directors the executive director of the Senior Resource Center, who had started a PACE program here, which was an innovative program to keep people out of skilled nursing and at home. We had the former director of the planning department, as well as an expert in planning, and the former director of the community services district in McKinleyville. So he knew all about the infrastructure, the sewer and the water and the parks and all in McKinleyville. We had a nursing educator, a man who was the tech director at a local bank, and gentleman who was a former finance person on Wall Street and then moved here and was the head of a local community foundation, and then also is the owner or major owner in a communications project here with radio and news involvement, and as well as a really active community member who actually by profession she'd done kitchen design, and but she really knew a lot about marketing and had worked on Humboldt County has a village here, which is a volunteer movement to help people, neighbors helping neighbors, basically. So we had a really dynamite group, and have everybody. It's been a real pleasure to work with all these people. It's a real working board. We've tapped the skills of all of them, and it's just grown. And the challenge was it seemed kind of silly at first. We were trying to build a community, Life Plan Humboldt, out of nothing. We had idea. We didn't have any money. We didn't have property. We didn't have a big benefactor. But we began fundraising, and we looked at 15 properties throughout the county, and eventually were able to enter into a purchase option agreement with Ann Pearson, who had owned a lot of property, and particularly the property in the McKinleyville town center, which and we fundraised, and our assembly member Jim Wood drew down $1.3 million from the state budget to help us along. And we've had the support of the Board of Supervisors and the Planning Department and Economic Development people and the local community foundation all along the way, as well as almost 500 local donors. And I just tallied up how many, we collect volunteer hours, but I know that some of my most active volunteers refuse to track it. But since the beginning of 2023, we've reported over 10,000 volunteer hours. So it's happening.
Wow. So, I would bet dollars for donuts that hardly anybody who is listening to this knows anything about Humboldt County, California. And I've spent a fair amount of time in Humboldt County, California, and I don't think it's the kind of California that most people really think of when they think of California. So, can you tell people a little bit about Humboldt County, California? It's a very special place. I mean, it's an amazing place. So, for those people who don't know what Humboldt is like, maybe share a little bit about what it's like living in Humboldt. And I'm curious, are there a lot of seniors in Humboldt? Because seniors isn't what pops to mind when I think of who lives in Humboldt.
We have proportionately a larger senior population than most counties in California.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, okay. So Humboldt County is rural. It's the size of the state of Connecticut, and we have 140,000 people here. It's beautiful. It's known for its redwoods. We're along the coast. It's 250 miles north of San Francisco, and there's another 100 miles till Oregon border. The climate's very mild. It snows every couple of years a little bit, and in the summer, we complain it gets hot if it's 75 degrees here on the coast. So we actually have had an influx of climate change refugees. People, the fire risk on the coast is very low. So people have moved here from are interested in moving here to live at Life Plan Humboldt from areas that are experiencing a lot of fire risk, which that's what people have heard about in California. It's a very rich culture, culturally. There's Cal Poly University here, a state university, and I've heard, and I don't know how to substantiate, but we have the highest proportion of artists per capita of any county in California. So people tend to land here one way or another and stick. And most of the people who are interested in Life Plan Humboldt have lived here for years and years, as well as there's a smaller group of people who have come and visited Humboldt, know about Humboldt, or have friends or family who live here and are really looking forward to moving into our community.
Yeah, so that's the thing is that Humboldt is extremely rural. It's basically, like mountains and forest and coastline, and it's a rugged coastline. It's not like it's wide sandy beaches. I mean, it's kind of rocky, and there's sandy beaches sort of sprinkled around, but it's God's country. It is like breathtakingly beautiful for people who don't know. Um, and so I had no idea that there was only 140,000 people in Humboldt, and it's the size of Connecticut. So that should give you a pretty good idea the population density of Humboldt. Not a lot of people, a lot of space, very beautiful. So one question that I immediately thought of, because I'm in real estate.
I want to correct before we go on.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
vast expanses of sandy beaches, great for walking and dog walking, actually. Not all rocky precipices.
They're not
And
they're not all rocky. Okay.
water's cool. I mean, I bought a wetsuit when I first moved here, and then having I've only gotten in the water a couple times without that. But there are rivers here, and so there's places to swim and fish. It's a very promotes a very active outdoor lifestyle, and that's what we've learned from people. In surveying people and talking to people, they like to be outdoors. They like to grow things. They like to eat local food, and we tend to be self-reliant. There's a lot of, for example, there's OLLI, a senior education program. It was the first to happen in a rural area here. Or there's a PACE program, this integrating Medicaid and Medicare to help seniors stay at home who otherwise would be skilled nursing. It was the first one in a rural area. There's all kinds of things here that shouldn't happen in a rural area, but we're just the kind of people that get together and make something work.
Yeah, so certainly the outdoors is the main attraction in Humboldt. I mean, I've been there. I've passed through many times, and I've been to Arcata. I spent some time in Arcata, which is kind of like the big town. I mean, like you mentioned, Cal Poly. It didn't used to be Cal Poly. It used to be Cal State Humboldt or whatever, and now it's Cal Poly. They're basically copying San Luis Obispo, I understand, and they're moving a lot of people in there, right? So Arcata is gonna like double in size or triple in size or something like that in the coming decades. I don't know. A lot more people are going to be there in Arcata. Um, but from a land use perspective, like when you talk about like co-housing and or a basically it's not co-housing though, is it? It's what describe the housing that you're actually building. Is it like separate detached lots and like, or is it like a building or several buildings, or what is it actually like?
Well, we're going to have a campus, and we're actually going to have market rate housing and affordable housing. We're working with Rural Community Housing, which is also a nonprofit, to build 50 apartments, which will be rental apartments for lower income seniors. But a life plan community or continuing care community works. People buy into it. You don't buy the property. You buy the privilege and the right of being there and being, till you die, basically, or leave. And we're going to have our initial stage of development. We're going to build a combination of apartments and cottages, and we'll build 101 homes. And then there's actually a wetland area, so there'll be a nice seasonal pond and walking trails. And I just also want to say something about anyway. There'll be an entry fee, so that's how you buy the privilege of being there, but they don't have to pay insurance, homeowners insurance, or home maintenance costs, or property taxes, or any of that. But there will be a monthly fee, and that will get residents of Life Plan Humboldt a dining plan, maintenance, assistance. So we're going to have a care coordinator to help people access health care. and activities and any kind of uh, support, really, of their both of their neighbors, but also of the community itself. And incidentally, we just had a contest because we didn't quite think the name Life Plan Humboldt was that exciting, and we had over 300 submissions. And my favorite was actually The Last Resort, but we're not going to use that name. But we chose the name Humboldt Commons because Humboldt is very important. It's a well-known community in California. It's why we're here. We love Humboldt. And Commons means we want to be open to the community and engaged. And actually, in some recent focus groups we had, I was fascinated to hear that 90% of the participants, the older seniors, are volunteers. That's really the kind of thing we want to promote. We want to promote, just like that initial Kendall community I saw in 1973, where people with skills shared their skills, and we does just because we're older doesn't mean we can't continue to learn and gain new skills and really have a good time interacting with our neighbors. But in a rural area, once you can't drive anymore, it's really challenging. You can't. Your friends probably can't. You can't go out and visit your friends. You can't. I have a lot of friends who don't drive at night, so it makes it harder for them to get around and participate in all of the cultural events that happen here. But also, it makes it harder to. And a lot of us, most of the homes we live in are too big. We raised our kids in them and they don't need it anymore, but there's not a good options for downsizing. And then if you become mobility challengers, it's you can't go home. There's stairs, there's narrow doors, no grab bars for things. So every home in at Humboldt Commons will be totally accessible for somebody with a mobility challenge. And same thing for the affordable housing on the campus.
So Humboldt Commons is a CCRC, a continuing care retirement community. Is that correct?
Yes, that's the formal term for it. They're called life plan communities.
Life plan communities. And so the idea is you can move in there if you're age whatever, commonly 55, but I guess 60 maybe in your case, 60 and up, and then you have what is known as independent living, which is to say that you're totally fine on your own, you're happy and healthy, you don't need anybody to care for you at all. And then from there, the idea is you can then move into assisted living if you need to, where people can come in and help you with activities of daily living. So if you move from like independent living to assisted living, you don't actually change your spot though. You stay in the same exact apartment you've already stayed in. It's just you get more care at that point.
Well, the, that's our goal eventually. Initially, we're planning to offer some level of services to people and what they needed or facilitate getting care, that level of care in people's apartments and cottages. We're fortunate there's actually an assisted living and memory care right next door. And so initially, we don't have to build uh, our own. I mean, the way a community like this gets started is, either you have outside big investors or, we're the entry fees that people will pay will help pay for the bonds that are going to pay for the construction. So it's easier to fill independent living, and not everybody comes in at the level where they need memory care or assisted living. So eventually, I think we'll have the basis to build our own. But in the meantime, we have it right next door, and it's like not just almost on the same campus. I mean, they're literally right next door, and we have a very good relationship with that community there. So yeah, we will enable, help people and their families make sure that you get all really the care you need. And the idea is to be connected and comfortable and safe and engaged.
Well, I bet they are very happy that you are building that right next door because it's kind of like, a continuum. I mean, that's what the CCRC is supposed to be, right? I mean, like, so like, while you may not have that, at least it is literally right next door, a short like lark ride away or whatever. So, a lot of these places, you buy in, and I don't know what does a buy-in cost? Are there different fees to? I mean, has that been determined yet? But quite often, like there are quite a few around here in the Bay Area, they might cost $500,000 or more to buy in. Is that sort of what you're looking at up there too in McKinleyville, or?
Well, Life Plan Humboldt and Humboldt Commons are unique, as I said, is at grassroots that we're partnering with affordable housing. And the other thing is where our goal is to be for mid-market. So we really are, we haven't set the final prices yet. We're in the, close to doing that, but we're pegging them to be accessible to people who own for the medium home value in Humboldt County. So there'll be a range, and it depends on whether you move into a studio apartment or a two-bedroom, two-bath cottage. So it's they're a lot less expensive than some of the communities that are you know around, and that's our goal. Just really make it so it's accessible to middle class people as well as
So what
people
is
with
that?
more assets.
What is the median home price in Humboldt County?
It's about $450,000 right now.
Four
So
hundred
we
fifty thousand
expect
dollars.
that there'll be
Okay,
some and some units that might cost more than that. And
sure.
but the interesting thing then, actually, this is the most one of the more important points about the buy-in fee is it's 80% refundable when you leave or die or whatever. Your estate can get 80% of that back. So really, if you think about it, it's a way of preserving the equity in your home. You sell your home, you move into Life Plan Humboldt, you don't have to maintain your home anymore, right? There's no unexpected, the roof blowing off or anything big like that. And then your estate or your heirs will get 80% of the value of your home back so I think in the long run, it's a really good deal for people.
Well, that is a good deal because here in the Bay Area, I know a lot of those places you don't get 80% back. You get 25% back, 50% back, 80% back is quite a bit to get back. So that's pretty amazing. So, are you taking like reservations right now, or are you all filled up, sold out already, or where are you at with that?
Well, there's a lot of interest, and a lot of people say, "I hope there's enough room for me," and I really hope we sell out. But we do not have a waiting list yet. Probably mid-October is where we're shooting for that. And what we're first thing we're going to do is we call it the future residence list for Humboldt Commons and Life Plan Humboldt. And people will make $1,000 deposit, which is totally refundable. We're going to put it in an escrow account. We can't spend it, and that'll give us an idea, give our people who helping us arrange bond financing and helping us develop will really get an idea of the extent of the interest here. And not until sometime in 2026 will we start taking 10% deposits from people who are actually serious. It's that's when you start buying in, and we're planning to move in 2028. And I should mention we have we're really fortunate to have a partner in the Kendall Corporation, and it's a federation of Quaker-based life plan communities. And actually, that was a Kendall community that I visited in 1973.
Oh, wow.
And they're all they don't Kendall doesn't own all the communities, but they cooperate together. That we're getting a great assistance from experienced life plan community developers and putting our community together and making it right. And we really like the values of the Quaker-based community, really matches our values. And it's also well known, mostly in the East Coast, but has a really good reputation. And I said I mentioned visited Kendall Community in 1973, But well, 6 or 7 years ago, I went back to visit one just when I was getting involved in getting a life plan community going here to say, was it really that good? It's been a few years. I don't know if I remember. And actually, I thought it was even better. I met this woman who was in her 80s, who was a master weaver, and she had set up a weaving studio with 40 looms. And they were people busy. There were some rank beginners, men and women, learning how to weave. And then some people were really knew what they were doing. And it was just what I remembered of the possibility of learning new skills, of sharing your skills, of continuing to grow and share what you've learned over a lifetime with other people.
Well, that is pretty incredible. So one thing I know that really contributes greatly to your health and happiness as you grow older, probably really at any age, is that sense of community that you have, right? Like people who tend to be shut-ins tend to be sicker and die sooner than people who are part of like a vibrant community. So is there like a community plan for that? I mean, like, so you mentioned like growing your own food. Is there going to be like a community garden? Is there going to be like, a community vineyard? Are you guys going to crush grapes with your bare feet? I mean, like, do you have some kind of like thoughts about like what the community is going to do other than live together?
Well, we're planning it to be a resident directed community. And so, one thing, there will be a dining program, and we will have regular, right now, planning, we have a community kitchen as well. So, we're planning regular potlucks. But when people, what we do up here when we want to socialize is eat with people, get, and they're not have, and actually, when I moved here, what is it, 40 years ago, there weren't a lot of restaurants. So we all learned how to cook and make things, invite people over. So that I think eating together is a really important thing. And then beyond that, the the we're not going to have a activity director. We're just going to facilitate the kind of things that people want to do. So there are a lot of musicians here, and I, for one, I'm a bass player, and I love to, jam with people and play with people there. There's a lot of the people who sing and chorales and choirs, and we can do that. We want to partner with the Preparatory and Performing Arts, North Coast Preparatory and Performing Arts Academy, which is a middle school and high school, and work with them on music and theater and things like that. They're artists. We can have paint the street or do things in the community. An interesting thing in McKinleyville, California. There's a real renaissance happening there. There's been a intense planning process to make the McKinleyville town center more person-centered, and we're thrilled to be part of that. They are It's a very walkable community. There's natural food stores and grocery stores, senior center, library, bookstore, liquor store, um, health facilities, financial advisors, and banks, and churches, and pickleball, and I say you can get everything from a pot shop to dialysis there. Those are the extremes, and it's all right there. So and as we move in, and there'll be 150, 200 of us active seniors, we're going to really help continue to craft the community and make it a nice, livable and comfortable and community-minded place.
So you're going to have like event spaces in there, like an auditorium, or I mean, where are you going to go jamming on your bass? Just in someone's apartment, or are you guys going to have like, an auditorium, amphitheater, anything like that planned?
Well, I imagine that the dining area is going to function as a gathering area too, so that there can be classes there or there can be events. I mean, there is a senior center right there and a lot of community space available too. So we aren't limited to having our events right at our community. We can walk, a block and or 2 blocks, and then there's other places where we can have events that are open to the community that we sponsor.
So
So
you're right downtown McKinleyville, right? I was just looking at a map, and I don't think I've ever been to downtown McKinleyville. So I've been on 101, right? So I've like, driven through McKinleyville, but I do not believe that I've ever been to downtown McKinleyville. And so is it like Main Street USA? There's like little shops and like, coffee shops and all that?
well, it has a lot of. You drive right through it, and you might miss a lot of what's going on, and that's what's one of the community processes going on. Is how do you make? We're going to be part of creating the heart and soul of McKinleyville. I mean, there are a lot of things there, and a lot of people working on making it so it's better walkable and easier for people to bike and walk around. Actually, one of the projects that Life Plan Humboldt's taken on is building a bike trail and sidewalk all along the property that we have. It would be 1,470 feet. And we just had a great party at the Fieldbrook Winery raising money for the sidewalk. It was very well attended. And, that's our way of not only enhancing the walkability for our residents, but making it all better for everybody in McKinleyville.
Well, walkability is also like a huge thing. Like I've had some fitness people come on the show here, and I say, well, what kind of exercises do you recommend for like older adults? And the answer is always walking, like walk, walk, walk. Just go for walks, and so it's really important to have that walkable community there. So you mentioned that you're in the heart of McKinleyville. So like, what was there before like this place where you're building your new campus? Was it just an open field, or like did you have to like redevelop a prior structure, or what was that like before you guys got going?
Well, actually we're having 14 and a half acre, 14.6 acres. It was open field. And across the street, there's 44 acres that's open field. And that's all been part of a subject of a planning process in the McKinleyville Advisory Committee for the last 5 years. And they're just about to seal the deal and put pass the ordinance, get it through the county board of supervisors, and get the environmental impact report passed, and which will enable us to develop. And the exciting thing is that this property across the street that's also open field right now, it's 43 acres, has about 14 acres of wetlands, and which will be developed by making paths through it and make a lovely thing. And it has just been the owner of the property has set it up so it's going to be donated to a nonprofit to oversee the development, which is an exciting thing. I think it'd be the community process has set the development standards, a forum-based code, it's called, where they set some general guidelines, and the nonprofit that's been formed will make sure that the space gets developed in a way that's friendly to the community.
Yeah, so this is interesting. I mean, talking about like parcels that have dozens of acres on them, and we're talking about downtown McKinleyville, right? So I guess that gives you an idea, like just the kind of place that McKinleyville is, where downtown is full of 40-acre vacant parcels. So it was a meadow before, and so I'm a real estate guy, and like down where I live, it would be like a Herculean task to be able to take a vacant virgin parcel of meadow and then turn that into anything. Except for like parkland. That would be not too hard. So, what's that process been like to get that like rezoned essentially from whatever it was before to like what you guys are gonna use with it?
Well, the McKinleyville Municipal Advisory Committee, which it's McKinleyville's unincorporated, so it's part of the county of Humboldt. But there's a local committee people have been volunteering for years that are making a plan for the town center. And in particular, it's actually for our community, for Life Plan Humboldt, the Humboldt Commons, we started by asking people what they want, with the human-centered design. We've had surveying people. We have had, like 800 people fill out a survey of what they'd like to see in a community. We had hired an architect who did a design charrette, which is a 2-day process, and we had 40 prospective residents engaged and saying, "This is the way we like to do things in Humboldt. This is the style we like. This is what we want." And we've been very engaged on a ground level with the architect. We've working with a local contractor who understands what Humboldt's about. We really want to make it something that we feel comfortable living in. We're not the same as other parts of California. We got to put our own stamp on it. But I think it's something that's going to be um, not quality, but not ostentatious, and just really accessible to people. And with every the I love what the architect said, that they want to make sure that every home has a great view of the outdoors. And there'll be a lot of outdoor spaces where we can gather, because with a mild climate like that, it's really that's where it's at.
That's where it's at. That's why you moved to McKinleyville in many cases. So you mentioned the environmental impact report. So did you have has that already been done, or is it the whole CEQA process, or are you guys exempt from CEQA?
Uh, it's being done as we speak. Actually, I'm going to a meeting tonight, and hopefully it'll be it has to go through the McKinleyville Advisory Committee and the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors, and we're hoping to get that done by the middle of October. After which we'll be what's called principally permitted. We can just go ahead with building permits. We're not going to have to get, as long as we stick to the general rules, we can develop.
So,
So
CEQA has famously been used to derail projects kind of like this. So, no one's tried to derail this project, or I mean, it really has been embraced by Greater McKinleyville.
our project hasn't been embraced by Greater McKinleyville because we've basically tried to develop it with Greater McKinleyville. We're not
Right.
imposing anything on people. We're McKinleyville residents. Like
It's
everyone,
grassroots. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah, it's
by us
really.
for us.
And likewise, now that the a property across the street has been going to be developed by a nonprofit, that also puts a different sense into it. We're really excited about that, and they've just started meeting, but they say the first thing they want to do is improve the wetlands in a way that people can enjoy them, and there'll be water features and trails, and we're going to have an off-leash dog area, but that'll be, if we have 14 acres across the street with trails all through it, even better.
Right. Okay. And you also mentioned bonds, right? You're going to raise bonds. So what's that process like? I mean, are you who's selling the bonds? Who's buying the bonds?
Well, we are, as I said, we're working with Kendall, which is a nationally known life plan community. What are they? Confederation, right? A corporation that is the umbrella. And we also all along have been working with a bank called Ziegler, which is based in Chicago, but they are the arrange bonds and bank financing for life plan communities, nonprofit life plan communities. That's what they do. We also participate in an organization called Leading Age, which is, I'm going to the conference in Boston in October, and there'll be, oh, I don't know, there's at least 1,000, 1,500 providers, nonprofit providers of senior housing who attend, just to share skills and exciting things. And part of that is, that's you get together and schmooze with the people, the finance, and they arrange the bonds. So they think we have a good project. We have a lot of community support. We have a sound financial plan. And once the next challenge, well, you got to get through the environmental impact report, but the next challenge is, the waiting list. Get that future residence list going, and then pre-sell. We have to pre-sell by getting 10% deposits, 70% of the units in order to get our licensing and also to get our bond financing.
Right.
But I'm confident we'll do that. We have, but just another manifestation of our support here. We have a newsletter, a monthly newsletter. One of our board members is the editor and works really hard on it. But we have a circulation of 1,700 people,
Oh,
and
that's quite a few people.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, especially considering how sparsely populated it is really up there. So how much are you trying to raise with bonds? Are you trying to raise like, I don't know, $50 million or like 100 million? Like what's a project like this cost to like get off the ground?
I think it'll cost us about $60 million. We have to,
$60 million. Wow.
we have to. It's going to cost us about $10 million in development fees and whatever to get to the point where we can get bonds for $60 million. So it's a big project, and that's why I think that the planning department, recognizes there's a shortage of housing here in Humboldt County. Market rate housing that families can live in. A lot of us live, older adults live in homes that we bigger than we need, bigger than we can even stand maintaining anymore. And but there's not an option to downsize. And this will make a great option to downsize, open up housing, and solve a lot of problems all at once.
Amen to that. You are preaching to the choir here because a lot of people like, like when they see like this, like housing come in and they, oh, it's too small, oh, it's too expensive, like who's going to live there? Well, someone's going to live there, and they were living somewhere else, and then where they were living then becomes available for someone else to move into. And like it's rampant all throughout like California, where you have like these old ranch houses, California ranch style, like 2,000 square feet, say, and it's lived in by one or two people, right? And it's built for a family, and you have one or two people who's living in one or two rooms typically of that house, and like here's a quick and easy way to vastly improve the quality of life for the person who is living in that one house, and to free up a lot of housing that can be much better used. But I'm kind of surprised that the county of Humboldt isn't waiving all that $10 million in fees. I mean, like that's a lot of fees. Have
Not just fees like that, but it's we have to do studies, wetland studies, and you have to hire a civil engineer to see where the storm water is going to drain. Have an architect has to do planning all the way up.
okay, so these are just soft costs. These aren't necessarily government fees per se.
No, 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 no.
Okay, all right. Well, that's
They
better.
can't waive government fees. I mean, they can help us. That we've gotten support from the county government and getting funding. Like they were behind us all the way when we asked the state for funding. We got a support letter from them. They've supported us a number of times. So
Well, that
anyway,
is good to see that the state gave you $1.2 million. That's nice to see, and I'm glad for that. So let me ask you this. Like a lot of people, I don't really know how old you are, but I mean, if you were in 1973 in East Coast, visiting a retirement community, I'm guessing you must have been 20, maybe, right? So
yeah.
a lot of people your age, might be thinking about like playing like croquet and just like knitting and stuff like that. Like, but you are taking on like what is a pretty enormous project, maybe the biggest project going on in McKinleyville, maybe the biggest project ever. Like, what keeps you going? I mean, do you have Wheaties for breakfast in the morning, or like what? I mean, where do you? I mean, because this is hard. What you're doing is hard, right? And a lot of people decades younger than you would shrink from the task. So, where do you find it within you to like push through something like this?
Well, I like a challenge, and I'm not doing it alone. I like to enjoy sort of mobilizing the community and having people, finding ways so everybody can support it. And it's someplace like where I want to live. My husband and I have a lovely home. We've lived here for 45 years, and got big garden, orchard, whatever, 3-bedroom home. We raised our kids here. It's getting harder to take care of it, right? So something happens, a tree falls down, or the plumbing breaks, or whatever. Now our mantra is just call maintenance. Because when we're moving into Humboldt Commons, Life Plan Humboldt, we can just call maintenance for that kind of stuff. It won't be our problem. We can have more time to socialize and have fun and even be with our grandchildren even. I won't have to be working in my yard when they're going off to play at the beach.
So it sounds like what gives you the drive is a self-interest because you want to live, in your community, not have to leave, but not have to take care of the headaches that come with home ownership, especially a home that is maybe 40 or 45 years old. As a lot of homes get older, they tend to need more maintenance. But then what,
1890, my home, 1890.
1890, does it have a real foundation on it or is it sitting on mud?
On a rock.
It's sitting on rocks. That's what I love about those old houses. They're interesting foundation systems they have. But so you want to move into a place that's easier to take care of. But what I really heard was that you love the work. You love what you're doing.
Yeah, and really, I think that it's something not only that I need, but our community needs. And all my whole career here has been, engaged with the community as a public health officer. The community health was my priority, is my job. And I see this as a actually interesting thing about seniors are often neglected. When I was I took I learned a lot about fundraising, right? But one thing I learned is 3% of philanthropic dollars go to older adults. More
Oh,
money
wow.
goes to dogs. So
Whoa.
we need to be older and proud and loud, to make our lives better and then make the community better.
So you're taking this to a really high level, and like what advice would you give to like maybe an older adult who's sitting around and doesn't really find anything in life that is, I don't want to say not worth living, but doesn't really excite them. Like, how do you help somebody, like, what advice would you give to somebody like that who like needs to find something that they can really be excited about to, like make them want to get out of bed every morning? Is there some place that people can go, or should they become a Quaker, or like what advice can you pass on to somebody like that?
Well, I think that it's really important for us to have opportunities as we age to keep engaged. And so volunteering or participating in social activities or church or social groups or whatever it is. But as I said, when you live in independent house and out of town and you can't drive anymore, it gets harder and harder to do that. So really what we're in Life Plan Humboldt Commons, what we're trying to create is a community where people can be independent, but easily connect with other people, connect with the broader community. I encourage people to go to our website, lifeplanhumboldt.org, and sign up for our newsletter, check it out. You might get some ideas for either moving here or what can be done in your community. There are senior life plan communities, nonprofit and for profit, all across the county. Country, excuse me. We just didn't have one for 200 miles. So it was really a pressing need here. And there's a demand for it, but people didn't know about it. Now we've sort of woken the demand here, and it's exciting to see it grow.
Well, I hope people in McKinleyville don't get all mad at you now that you're spilling the beans to the entire world about this great project that you have going on and how awesome McKinleyville is. And it truly is awesome. And I'll bet you're going to be attracting a lot of people because this sounds like a really amazing project. And, like, God, I love it up there. It is really such a very, very special place. So, I mean, next time I'm in McKinleyville, I'm going to veer off Highway 101 and I'm going to go in search of downtown and see this project.
Give me a call or send me a text, and I'll show you the property and show you what we're doing. So,
Oh, I would love to see it because I mean, like, I'm in real estate, and like I'm not a developer or anything like that, but like land use is something that I've always been very fascinated with. And so, talk about highest and best use. I mean, like you are doing like a great job with that property, it sounds like. So, bravo.
I think we'll be good neighbors. I mean, really, we're not competing in the job market. We're actually creating jobs. Well, will feed the give an economic boost to the stores and businesses in McKinleyville. We don't necessarily drive a lot either. Some of us won't be able to drive, or we'll whatever. So it's pretty low impact, high value for the community.
Right. Yeah, it sounds like a tremendous project. All right. Well, we're just about out of time. And before we go, is there any message or thoughts that you wanted to share with the audience before we wrap it up?
No, I just want, encourage older people to look around and get engaged. There's a lot of things, activities and things that can be done and that you can do to help make your community better and your life better. And meanwhile, check out lifeplanhumboldt.org.
All right, I will do that for sure. All right, Dr. Ann Lindsay, thank you so much for joining me here today on 60 Plus Uncensored. I really appreciate you taking the time.
All right, thank you.
All right, we'll catch you on the flip side. All right, that's a wrap for this episode of 60 Plus Uncensored. Huge thanks to Dr. Ann Lindsay for setting the tone with such honesty and insight. Now, if you like this episode, do me a favor and do Dr. Lindsay a favor. Hit the subscribe button, leave a review, and then share it with someone you know who needs to hear it. Oh, and by the way, if you know someone over 60 like Dr. Lindsay who's still out there doing big things, living boldly, working with purpose, or just aging on their own terms, I would love to hear from you. Reach out at team60plus.com or join the conversation on Reddit at 60 Plus Uncensored. I'm Seb Fry, and this is 60 Plus Uncensored, because as we're learning, life after 60 isn't the end, it's just getting good.
Subscribe now